To the left of me, I've got a 2022 CR-V Touring versus a 2024 RAV4 Limited. We're gonna see what's similar, what's different, and let's check out which one is suitable for you. Let's talk CR-V, and I'm gonna start with, firstly, this color, Sonic Gray Pearl. It's gotta be one of my favorite colors currently on the market amongst any manufacturer. It kind of reminds me of like a shark skin color or something around the lines of like a Nardo Gray from Audi mixed with more of a blue. And I think Honda has done a very, very good job and throwing a different color on the market, which you typically just don't see a whole lot of on the road. So kudos to Honda for making a very, very cool color and one of my favorite in today's market. Now, talking CR-V, one thing I'm gonna be saying off the bat is holy chrome, and I'm not a fan of that. You look at the front end here, you've got chrome on the front, chrome is your Honda badge, chrome amongst the grille, around the side of the vehicle, around the side skirts, and around the trunk of the vehicle. And it's something that I'm not going to be a huge fan of. And I really, really hope that manufacturers stay away from chrome because I just think it's an eyesore. I think it would do a lot better having this vehicle finished in this color, you know, more throughout and not adding in these little pieces of chrome. You can let me know what you guys think down below as your preference between chrome or a gloss chrome or something different versus a color of a vehicle. Now, looking at the front end design, yeah, it looks good. I know this is a 2022 versus a 2024 RAV4, but similar that this vehicle and the RAV4 are both fully loaded. So I kind of want to see, you know, what is very similar about them and which one's going to give you more features for the dollar figure you would be spending on either of them. Now, looking at the front end, the one thing I will say is that this being fully loaded, it kind of looks that way. You know, it's got a nice front end. It's a great color with nice fog lights on the bottom corners of both of your bumper. And I think that most manufacturers should be keeping that as an option in today's market, especially I think up here in Canada. We are located in Hamilton, and definitely on darker roads, something maybe further into the country, you want more visibility on the front. So I'm happy to say that both these vehicles do come equipped with fog lights. Now, front end design though, and hood size design, I mean, they are very, very similar. The front edges of the Hondas definitely come up a little bit. And that's one thing I noticed being inside this vehicle, actually driving it, that the way that the hood arches up on the side here, it actually kind of blocks your line of sight of it. And I'm not too sure I'm a big fan of it. I wish it was a bit lower down so that you could actually have a bit more visibility outside of the front when you are driving this vehicle. Now, looking at a lot of things that are similar between the two of them, both of these will be coming with 19-inch alloys. Now, if you're gonna ask me my honest opinion and looking at both of them side by side, I don't really know which one's my favorite. I actually think I'm gonna go Honda on this one. Now, I'm pretty sure the 24s or the new 25s for a CR-V have, you know, been a little bit redesigned, look a little bit more refreshed with different stuff on the inside, different stuff on the outside. But this rim in front of me, I actually don't mind. I don't like the all one color wheel, and especially silver. I will take black, but a silver, again, I just think it's an eyesore. I think that having a two-tone color configuration makes the vehicle pop a little bit more, and is something that I wish this RAV had as a gas model, because I obviously know the hybrids come with like a gunmetal gray, and I wish those rims were always on a RAV because those are the best looking in my opinion. Now, front end design on a RAV4. I think that this one, yeah, it looks pretty good. This being a fully loaded RAV, it's gonna come with a couple things that a regular RAV wouldn't come with. That's gonna be the first thing, which is this gunmetal grille. Typically on a RAV, they're all black. So I like that there's a couple little distinguishing factors amongst the front, amongst the inside and the rear of a RAV that really tells someone you are in a fully loaded one if they know, you know, have a little bit of knowledge, say, on a RAV4 size, because a lot of them do look the same. It's just a couple little things they have tweaked on it. Now, on the front end, we have opted in to add a bug deflector on this one, or a hood deflector, which is a genuine Toyota accessory that you can add in from the factory, making any one of our vehicles look a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more sporty, in my opinion. So now let's take a closer peek onto the side profile of both the CR-V and the RAV4. We're gonna start with the RAV4. Now, this roof rack is aftermarket, and it's an accessory you can add on most of our SUVs from the factory. So if you're gonna throw, you know, a Thule rack on top, a canoe, stuff like that, this could be a really good option for your next purchase, and something which is a great accessory to add on to a new Toyota. Now, looking at the sides, the one thing I will be saying is that yes, the RAV4 does have a bit of chrome. It's not as much as the CRV. And again, I'm not a fan of it. So I think the CRV has a lot more than the RAV does. But again, this little chrome strip I could do without. I really wish they just made it this, you know, black material on the bottom of the window and didn't have this eyesore up here as the chrome, especially on your door handles. Now, I know that that is another factor that people could look at this vehicle and just by the door handle, I could tell you it's a limited, because a RAV4 Limited comes standard with all 4 doors being a smart key access system, and it's the only RAV that comes with chrome door handles, which is interesting. However, looking at the roof rack, for example, and this little roof rail that is under your roof rack, this is gloss black. You actually cannot get this chrome, and thank goodness they didn't do it, because I think, again, that would be a bit of an eyesore, and I think that this black kind of gloss plastic definitely makes the vehicle look a bit more well-rounded and doesn't stick out like the chrome. If we're taking a closer look to the CRV, yes, I like how they color matched this unreal color with their door handles, but all the doors are not smart key. It's only the driver's side on the CRV for this 2022 model. And then looking around all the windows, they have chrome and this kind of like a silver plasticky roof rail as well, which I think is just a really interesting thing to add. And in my opinion, it actually matches this color decently because they're kind of a both an off gray or a silver. But I still think if this was all black and they blacked out a lot of the chrome, especially this piece of chrome on your rocker panel, I think that would definitely make the CRV look a little bit more well-rounded. Okay, so now taking a closer look onto the rear of the CRV, and I don't know if it's just me, but ever since I was, a big car guy and I love looking at new vehicles on the market, even though it's not a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, and it was just a simple, practical, everyday vehicle that consumers do buy on the daily, I always thought that this design of a CRV kind of looked like a face almost. You got like 2 eyes here, the mouth is a license plate, something just really interesting, and it seemed very long. I don't know if that's just me, but I definitely think that the rear of this vehicle just looks long. That's the only way I can ever put it, and it's definitely a style that I'm not the biggest fan of. Now, looking onto the rear of this vehicle, you are getting more of this chrome with the chrome emblems as well. But oddly enough, this is a silver chrome, and this is like a gunmetal, darker silver chrome. And again, I wish that this was on the vehicle rather than just your bright chrome. I think it's something that most vehicles don't have. It's either chrome or it's black. And I kind of like the middle, and I'll take the middle over the regular chrome all day long. So I wish this was on the vehicle over the other standard chrome that you get. Now, looking into the rear of a CRV, it's interesting that the beep and that little delay of actually opening up this trunk, and again, it opens up kind of slow, but you do have quite a lot of usable space. But one thing I will note, especially having both these vehicles side by side, is that this definitely feels a lot lower down than your RAV. Like I could just sit here and I don't have to get up, I don't have to really sit down, I can kind of just shuffle right in. So it's interesting that, maybe if you want something that's a bit lower to the ground, a bit easier to actually load stuff in, and it's just the loading height that's different, maybe this could be a cool option for you. Now, this being a 2022 model, I'm sure Honda's changed a couple things around onto the 2024s, but interesting that a 2022 model, and you think that we're shooting this at the end of 2024, almost 2025, this vehicle still had halogen bulbs to actually light up the trunk if you're ever loading stuff in the early morning or late at night, and something that I thought would be LED standard from the factory, which it's not. So interesting choice on Honda's part. Now, if I'm taking a closer peek onto the rear of the RAV4, now I know this is going to be one of the last generations of this current RAV, because 2026, I hope and we think, is going to be the redesign for this vehicle. I still think that this outgoing model, which will be the oldest generation when that one does come out, I still think this looks really great. And again, if you are someone who does have a lot of car knowledge, or someone who, say, works for Toyota, I can just tell by this simple piece here, which is not chrome. It's kind of like the CRV. That's like a darker silver plastic piece. This is only offered on a limited model of a RAV. So it's something so small that you can kind of distinguish one of the other package of a RAV to another package of a RAV. So I think it's a really cool thing that Toyota has done. Now, again, looking at loading height on this one definitely feels a bit higher up. I kind of sat down a bit in the CRV. This one, it's actually a bit higher up, which makes it a bit easier, I think, to load stuff in and out. Storage space, very, very similar. I think that both serve as a very, very practical storage space, but I do actually think the CRV has a little bit more than the RAV. A couple things that I do like though over the CRV, you have one LED illuminated light into the trunk of this vehicle, which I'm gonna take over a standard halogen bulb. I just think you get more of that use for it, and it definitely makes the storage space a lot more easier to look at and to find stuff in late at night. Now, I do know the CR-V didn't have this, and I know it does come with this from the factory, but this is your little privacy cover. Now, this is simply gonna be easy to retract or put back in the vehicle, and you can actually take this out too in case you're gonna fold all the seats down, because both of these vehicles come as a 60-40 split. So you can take it out, but it definitely makes it easier if you guys are doing shopping, you're over the border, you have stuff in the trunk that you just don't want people to see. You can throw stuff under here, close the trunk, and it's very easy that no one's gonna be looking in to see any valuables that you have on the inside. And it's definitely something that I think adds a bit of value onto a vehicle, because obviously when you're having a vehicle and maybe you're not taking everything out of it, I think it's a really great accessory to add in directly from Toyota that you're not paying extra for on a fully loaded RAV4. Okay, let's talk a fully loaded RAV4. So this being a 2024 model, in 2023 for this current generation of a RAV4, they updated screens and backup camera. And I think that's a huge improvement, getting this massive 12.3 touch display in front of you, which is capable for wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, and a fully digital gauge cluster. I think that over a prior generation RAV is a huge step up. And I know that the CR-V being in 2022, I'm sure they're fully loaded touring now as a full digital tachometer, but I really do like the layout of the Toyota. I think that they've done a really good job at keeping things very user-friendly, but also loading it with features. Now, features-wise, there's a lot of. Now, these seats are going to be real genuine leather, which are going to be heated and cooled with heated rear seats. Now, there's 3 stages for both, a high, a medium, and a low, which is always nice to have. Now, this being a limited, it's the only RAV4 you can configure in a different color configuration. So this is a black interior. You can get like a glazed caramel interior or a tan interior, as well as like a beige. It's kind of like an off-white creamy color. All 3 look great, but I do like a simple black color on the inside, and I think would look good on any color configuration you are going on a RAV. Now, talking exterior features versus interior features, what makes this a limited versus any other RAV4 that we offer? Number one, just by looking at the vehicle, is going to be this brown trim that's going to be around your cup holders, around your wireless charger, around your passenger storage, and it's only that one thing that is on a limited on the inside that I can just tell that you are in a fully loaded RAV4. Now, I'm not too sure why they did that, but I'm not complaining. I actually think it kind of breaks up a little bit of the black interior, and I think it kind of adds a little bit more of a personality for the inside of the vehicle versus, you know, a standard black color. And oddly enough, you can actually get this still currently on a gas model Trails edition, which is the RAV4 that can tow a little bit more than any other RAV4 in our lineup. And that one's actually gonna come with an orange trim around. So all this brown that you see around your wireless charger, I've got a little like coin holder on my side. The passenger storage, that would actually be orange, which is very interesting, but it's only offered on that version of a RAV, just like the brown is only offered on this one. Now, a couple things I wish that it had that the CR-V does have, and it's actually gonna be only one thing, and that's gonna be your panoramic moonroof. You cannot get a gas RAV with that configuration. And I'm kind of sad about that. I hope that that is a new feature on the new redesigned model for 2026. Again, I believe that's the redesigned model. There's nothing confirmed yet, but I think that is something that people will pay for. When I did the Crown Signia review, that comes standard with a fixed glass roof. When I did a RAV4 versus the Nissan Rogue, the Rogue came with a moonroof as well, but it had a cloth interior. Something so simple, but if someone came to me and said, Aiden, I really want a moonroof, but I don't want leather, or I don't want to spend, you know, a fully loaded price just to get a moonroof, it's interesting that another manufacturer like Nissan offers the moonroof with cloth interior. So it's kind of more customization, and I hope that's a route that we definitely go down the road, just giving customers and potential customers more of an option. And it's definitely more of a deciding factor versus, you know, comparing a RAV to a Rogue to a CR-V. And it's something that people could take away thinking, okay, we actually can customize a vehicle the way that you want it, even though a package doesn't include X, Y, and Z. I think that could be something really cool Toyota may do in the future. Now, a couple other things I will touch upon that I really do like on this vehicle that you cannot get on any other RAV4. Standard from the factory, JBL sound system, which is our best sounding sound system, which does do the job. It's perfect, and it's something I would be getting in my RAV4 100%. The other big one is going to be up here, which is going to be your digital rear view display mirror. Now, you can add this to any package of a RAV. Standard from the factory, depending on an LE or an XLE, you might have an auto dimming rear view mirror, but this is going to be the best one that you'll be getting, and it's going to have a camera that is mounted on the rear of the vehicle by the rear glass. So if you've got tall boxes, tall people, it's loaded to the back in this vehicle because there is a lot of storage space. You can actually flip this to show you what is behind you with a fixed mounted camera, and I think it's something that Toyota did that consumers will benefit from. Okay, so now taking a closer peek onto the rear of your RAV4 Limited. Now, being in the back, there's really nothing that stands out that would tell me I'm in a fully loaded RAV4, other than the fact that I have heated seats on both the passenger and I guess the rear driver passenger on the inside of this vehicle. And I think it's a nice touch to add. It's the only RAV4 that comes with that, and I think that families and consumers would want that for anyone in the back, because obviously I would say primarily the front gets most of the heat in the winter time to definitely heat up the vehicle. And I think that yes, you got a couple vents back here, but I think having rear heated seats is huge onto a RAV4. Now it's interesting because if you guys have ever seen my Crown Signia review, I mentioned that the cup holders looked more premium on that vehicle. And again, something so small, but I think it's true to that. And I actually wish that Toyota did this and they added that brown trim around the back of that. I feel like it would make the vehicle look a little bit more well-rounded in my opinion. And it's interesting that the brown's only in the front and nothing in the rear. I think that's maybe one mistake that they did, and I wish that they included a little bit of that in the front into the rear to kind of make the vehicle, you know, look a little bit more, well-rounded is the best way I can put it. However, comfort-wise, I'm great. Again, I wish I had a panoramic moonroof. I don't, and that's okay. But other than that, I would have no complaints if I'm sitting in the back here. And even with this seat, for example, coming down, as this being the 60 side and I'm on the 40 side, if I had a suitcase back here, if I was going to the airport, going, you know, on a long road trip and I had no one next to me, I don't feel squished back here. And yes, I'm a taller person, but I've still got a lot of headroom. I've got charging ports back here. I've got vents back here. I've got heated seats back here. I would have no complaints taking this on a long car ride. Okay, let's talk CRV. Now, getting in here, I know it's a 2022, but it's still a fully loaded vehicle versus the fully loaded RAV4. And I definitely will say that the premium feel of a fully loaded vehicle, I don't have it in here. Now, the one thing I will say is that you do have a lot of storage. You've got storage compartments here with these little trays you can actually pop in and out of for, you know, change or whatever the case may be. A wireless charger, which is here, just like the RAV4 had. Now, I will say that's probably in a bit more of a convenient spot. The RAV4, it was behind the shifter. So I definitely think having this here makes it a little bit more accessible to grab your phone, even though you shouldn't be texting and driving, but it's still there just in case you needed easy access, say a passenger was charging their phone or something of that nature. Now, the one thing I will say that I'm not a fan of in the slightest bit is going to be this wood grain finish on the inside. I think it's a really interesting thing to put on the inside of a vehicle, and I would rather say a brown seat rather than like a brown wood trim. I think it's just like a plasticky brown cover. And again, it's not my favorite. I definitely wouldn't want that in my vehicle. And I'm not sure, you guys can correct me down below in the comments, if that's standard on a Touring alone or if you can get that on other CRV models. I did a bit of research before. I couldn't see anything that made me go either way. But I think it's a really interesting finish that they had. And I really wish they just kind of kept this gloss black that's up here, which is this interesting stripe, and they just made that down here, or just took out the wood entirely. I think that would make the vehicle look a little bit better. Now, one thing I will say, and you already know what's coming, I love the sunroof or the moonroof. I think that having a vehicle that has this, and you actually can open this as well. And some manufacturers don't offer a moonroof that you can actually open. So I think that having that is a great feature to have in a vehicle. The only thing I guess I'll say is being inside of this, I don't find the seats that comfortable. And maybe I'm just not accustomed to the seats at Honda, but I definitely think that getting into this, I definitely kind of sat down and I didn't feel like I was getting into an SUV. I still feel a bit higher up, but if you've seen a couple of our previous videos that we've posted, I will say that this kind of compares, I guess, height-wise, driving height, like a Corolla Cross. And you're not fully high up, but you're also not on the ground. It's somewhere in between. So I really actually wasn't expecting that jumping onto the inside of this. So I was kind of taken back when I was on the inside. Now, Couple other things that I will be adding to this: you have heated seats and a heated steering wheel, which is great, but no cooled seats. Now your gauge is kind of half digital, half not digital, which I also think is a little weird. This infotainment system, I'm gonna be assuming it's an older system for Honda, this being almost 3 years old now. I believe that the new ones have an upgraded system, and I wish that we got a 2024 or 25 on trade so I can really see the improvements they have made from this outgoing model into the new design for a CR-V, because they do look great. And I think that when Toyota redesigns the RAV, that will make the vehicle look a little bit different and will kind of catch people's eyes on the road a bit more, because the new CR-Vs do that for me. And I think that they've done a very good job to actually redesign that vehicle. Other than that though, I still think this is a very well laid out vehicle in my opinion. I think that, I know it's got a little bit old technology, the old shifter, the vents are in a really interesting spot in my opinion, but visibility wise, features wise, you still actually have a pretty decent amount for being a almost 3-year-old vehicle. I'm gonna jump into the rear to kind of see if I still feel that way in the back, and just to kind of compare the two between a CR-V and the RAV4. All right, now jumping into the back of the CR-V. One thing I will be saying is that the seats feel bigger, and that's really odd to say, but it does feel bigger. And very interesting that I don't have a pocket in front of me, but behind the passenger, they do have a pocket. So really interesting design they have decided to do there. Now, I understand this being a 2022, this still has USB ports. Most new vehicles on today's market come with USB-Cs, and I know that the new 2024s or 25s also come with that, which obviously gives you a faster charge for any devices or any rear passengers that you have. But they are very similar in the back. One being said that you do have heated rear seats, which is nice. You don't have an upgraded sound system, which is interesting. And the interesting thing too is your cup holder design is going with the vehicle. It's not side to side. So kind of interesting that you and your passenger might kind of confuse which drink was yours if you're ever having, you know, a pop or a juice back here. But interesting design with no handle as well. There's no way to actually grab it from the outside, which I think is interesting and probably something I wish that they would have changed. Another really weird thing that I noticed being on the inside is that odd that you have LED lights on your roof back here. You have them on the front as well, but the ones in the trunk are just the old halogen bulbs. And I don't know, maybe the previous owner of this vehicle maybe had one burn out and they put a halogen bulb in it. But I obviously know if you put a halogen bulb where an LED should be, you'll have a light come on the front. So maybe that's not the case. Maybe they just actually only have halogen in the back, but I still think that's weird. I really think they should have added these LEDs, which just make the car look a little bit newer. Now, this compared directly to the RAV, space-wise, both are great. Inside-wise and the feel, I'm gonna be Honda on this one, just with the actual comfortable space that I have on the inside. The moonroof is definitely a huge factor for me, and the seats in the rear are very, very large. So I feel very comfortable, and same thing, if I were to drop this seat, now, just like the RAV, this one, the 40 is on this side, I'm sitting on the 60. Now, the big advantage that Honda has over the RAV4 currently is that these seats will fold flat. And oddly enough, if you actually look at this seat or the bench part that I'm sitting on actually goes down to the floor, which gives the space for the seat to fold down flat. Now, a lot of customers I've talked to, a lot of them will say, you know, I'm looking at a RAV4 compared to a CR-V, maybe into a Ford Escape, maybe into something, you know, other manufacturers around that same size-wise. But it's interesting that Toyotas don't sit fully flush to the actual seat. They actually kind of sit up more like this. Now, still very, very usable space. However, if you're going to be using this vehicle and throwing plywood, lumber in, a picture frame, something like that, that you want it to be flat with the vehicle, we don't offer that in the RAV, which is interesting, and I hope they change that onto a new design whenever time will be. However, I definitely think that this design with the moonroof and the actual feel of it, I am with Honda on this, and I think that I actually feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more spacious being on the rear of a full-size SUV. All right, guys, so now you've finally seen what the difference is between a fully loaded CR-V and a fully loaded RAV4 will get you. And if you're the owner of either one of these two vehicles, I want to know what persuaded you to go Honda or what made you go Toyota. Now, I know for 2022, this came with a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder versus a 2.5 4-cylinder on a RAV. So you're actually going to be getting a bit more power if you're looking to have an SUV that maybe gets up a little bit quicker to speed, maybe the RAV was your choice to go for. Who knows? If you guys do own them though, please let me know down below in the comments. Again, my name's Aiden with Upper James Toyota. Thanks so much for watching. Please do not forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our Toyota versus Lexus or Toyota versus Honda comparisons. And we'll check you guys out in the next video.